Hello, welcome to MCR 4, day 1. So this is learning support for quantitative reasoning. So it'll go along with your 154 course and help support it there. So your first unit in quantitative reasoning is perspective matters, which is problem solving. So we're going to follow along with that as well too. So our unit 1, we're going to start off with problem solving. And a lot of times in problem solving, it's going to be word problems that we need to then translate into math. So we've got our keywords that tell us this is addition, this is subtraction, multiplication, division, etc. So the big ones for addition, are ones that you've seen: and, both, combined, sum, things like that. For subtraction, if you see the word difference, minus, the one here I'm going to point out is that if you see less than and subtracted from, they're actually backwards from what we think. If you think 5 less than a number, that means X minus 5. If I have $5 less than you, it's whatever you have minus 5. Same with subtracted from. 20 subtracted from a number reads the other way, X minus 20. So they read backwards from how we might think. So just note those two. That's why I have that nice subscript there. All right, for multiplication, the ones that we commonly are going to see as of. If you might see twice a number, double a number, of, again, I have it here, or the word product, but of is that big one that means multiplication. For division, when you see the word average, we want to know the average formula. It's a form of division because you sum all the parts. So if it's 5 tests, you sum your 5 tests and then divide by the total number. So if this were test scores, it might be you got 100, a 75, an 82, and a 95. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. So you would divide by 4 tests to get your average. So the division is in there. Other terms for division, if you see the word divide, if you see quotient, ratio, or percent, that also means divide by 100. So ratio, so if it's the ratio of 2 to 3, that can be written as 2 divided by 3. If it's a percent, like 68%, that really means 68 out of 100, or 0.68. So percent, fraction, or decimal notation. And then you have quotient, shares, etc. And then for equals, the big one is the word is. So that's where I usually divide a problem and know that everything on the left is one piece, everything on the right is another, and I'll see that word is. You could also see the word equals, amounts to, yields are common, but is the big one. So if we want to translate math to math from English, we've got a couple of these. So if we do the sum of 10 and a number, sum means add. So we've got 10 and some number, and we're going to add them together. Which variable you use doesn't matter. If you're increasing a number by 100, that's also addition. So we've got some number, and we're adding 100. You will want to pause me here and try the rest of them, see how many you can get, and then come back and review the answers. So the difference of a number and 25, that's that subtract one. And it's not one of the two we have to worry about. So it's a number and 25, the difference. So it's direct left to right subtraction. This one. Down here is where it's the opposite, 20 subtracted from a number. So that's going to be the one where we actually write it as the number minus 20. Think of N as your bank account. You're taking 20 away. You're subtracting 20. If I do twice the difference of a number and 3, there's kind of parentheses here. So it's the difference of a number and 3. but I'm doubling it. Whereas this one is the difference, and then that's in parentheses, twice a number and 3. So just note the 2 different ways you might write them. The difference of 25 in a number reads regularly 25 minus the number. Multiplied by 5 means multiply it by 5 times the number. Triple a number is 3 times the number. Quotient means divide, left to right, in divided by 7. The variable again doesn't matter. And then 36 divided by a number. So I'm reading it directly left to right that way. Couple more on the next page. Make sure you are pausing me and trying these before you just read the answers. So it's 3 times. So I'm 3 timesing everything else. The sum of a number and 6 is what's being multiplied by 3. So I'm going to put the parentheses there. Whereas this is the sum of, so that goes in parentheses, 3 times a number and 6. So again, the difference between the 2. Then for 14 and 15, we get into the ones where they have an equal sign. So the is means equals. So is 21 is 20. Then I can read the other parts. 3 times a number plus 9. The difference of a number and 8. So difference is subtraction. So hopefully that went well for you. All right, our next item is this idea of problem solving. Also, you'll see this in 154. So step 1 is to understand the problem. Read it, list what you have, label what you don't know. So that might look like I have some starting value, I have some other variable, maybe I have another variable, and I'm looking for this one. So it's listing what you have, figuring out what you don't know. Then that step 2 is translating the English to math. That's what we were just doing. But within that, you don't necessarily have to always put it in an equation. You might do a drawing or a chart, things like that. Step 3 is solving whatever method you picked. And step 4 is check your work. That really means, does it make sense? Not only can I sometimes put the answer back, but also think common sense. You know, if I'm looking for a number that's 40% of 80, 40% is less than half. So I'm looking for a number smaller than 80. So if I type something in wrong and get a number bigger, that should be my hint that that wasn't right. So always check your work and I think, does that make sense, et cetera. If it's an equation, you want to plug the answer back in. So then there's some practice problems here. Again, pause the video, try the practice problems, and then come back. So we read this one, twice the difference of a number and 3 is 4 more than the number. Find the number. Okay, so I am looking for some variable X. And I have English that I'm going to convert to math. So now I'm going to translate it using keywords. Twice the difference. So this piece gets parentheses. Twice the difference of a number and 3 is 4 more than the number. Then I go through and actually solve it. So I've got 2x minus 3 equals 4 plus x. Distribute. And then I'm going to put all the variables on one side and all the numbers on the other side. So that gives me 2x equals 10 plus x minus x. So I get x is 10. And then for my check step, twice the difference of a number and 3 is 4 more than the number. 2 times 7 is 14. So it works. Makes sense. I've checked my answer. I like it. So then moving on to question 17. Again, good place to pause and try it. One number is 4 less than the other number. Find each number. Okay, so this one, I need number 1 and I need number 2. So when I'm figuring out my answer, I need 2 numbers. Okay, so let's call X the first number. One number is 4 less than the other number. So let's call X minus 4 the second number. Okay, so X is the first number, the other is 4 less. Now we can look at what this says. The sum of the 2 numbers is 70. So here's number 1. Here's number 2. Now I can go through and solve that. All right, so it's X plus X minus 4 equals 70. 2X minus 4 equals 70. 2X equals 74. So X is 37. That's my first number. The second number is X minus 4. So my second number is 33. Okay, now I should be able to check that. One really is 4 less than the other. And then 33 plus 37 is 70. So I'm good to go there. So that one does check out. That was the answer. So the next section here is now we're going to get into percents. So with percents, a percent automatically means that you divide by 100. So if you have 20%, it's really 20 over 100. So you wouldn't put it into a problem as 20, you'd put it in as 20 over 100 or as the decimal. So 8% would go to 0.08 or 8 out of 100. So 35% would be 35 out of 100 or 0.35. All right. So for ratio notation, you put it as the percent to 100. For decimal notation, you take it and multiply it by this decimal, making it smaller, basically dividing by 100. And then for fraction notation, you write it as separate. So those are our 3 types that we might use. So if we have 28%, for the ratio notation, that's going to be 28 over 100. That's the common fraction one. Decimal, you would multiply it by 0.01, which is the same as dividing by 100. And that would give you 0.28. And for fraction, you would write it like that, which turns into the 28 out of 100. For this 27.5, the ratio would be 27.5 divided by 100. Now, if you don't like that, you can multiply by 10 to get rid of the decimal. That would move it over 1. As long as you do it top and bottom, it's completely allowed. So it's 275 over 1,000. For decimal notation, it would be 27.5 times 0.01. And for fraction notation, it would be 27.5 times 1 out of 100. Okay. So just a few to get used to that. So if you want to convert back and forth between percent and decimal, what you're doing is moving it 2 units smaller. So you're moving the decimal 2 points to the left, which divides by 100, and it should be a smaller number. So 85% 1, 2 makes it 0.85. You could also take it and go 85 divided by 100 and get it that way, or 85 times 0.01, same math to get that smaller number. So pause and try these. 95%, 1, 2 would be 0.95. This one you would move it 1, 2, 0.3478. 1, 2, 3.575. If you didn't already do them, pause them and try the other 3. See how you do. Now this 7.5, 1, 2, I need to put an extra 0 there to move it 1, 2. So it becomes 0.075. Same with this 0.47, 1, 2, I need to add in extra zeros. So 0.0047, and then 1, 2 is 1.23. So there are the answers for those. To convert a decimal number into a percent, you go the other way. So if to convert percent to decimal, you divide by 100 to make it smaller. You then multiply by 100 and it becomes bigger. So anytime you have a decimal, it's basically like multiplying it by 100% is the math. Or move it 1, 2. So that's 56%. Okay. So 1, 2 would be 13%. But if we want to write it out, $8.52 would be multiplied by 100%. All right, moving it or multiplying it 1, 2 would be 852%. 1, 2 would be 4, 5, 2.3%. 1, 2 would be 21.54%. And 1, 2 would be 0.91%. So take a look at all of those, make sure you're doing well. And then our last topic for today is converting fractions to percents. So to convert a fraction to a percent, the easiest way is to divide the fraction and then multiply it by the 100%. So if I took 75 out of 125, I would just divide it, put it in your calculator as is, and then multiply that by the 100% to get the 60%. Okay. So for this one, it'd be 210 over 480. Divide that directly, it gives 0.4375, and then multiply it by 100%. Take a minute or pause to do this one. So this one, when you see the fraction bar, anything on top is its own parentheses, anything on bottom is its own. So you need to simplify the top first, then do the division. And multiply it by 100%. And you end up with 37.5%. All right, going along with this one, you have your day 1 assignment. And you can look on Canvas for how to turn those in. Have a great day.